Welcome to Domain 2, Section 2.3, AI Risk Frameworks. In this session, we will compare the two leading approaches to AI risk, the voluntary NIST AI Risk Management Framework and the binding European Union AI Act, and we will draw out the key differences between them. Why does this matter beyond the exam? These two frameworks shape how most of the world governs AI risk. Knowing the difference lets you pick the right tool for your situation, comply where compliance is mandatory, and adopt best practice where it is voluntary, instead of confusing a legal obligation with a helpful guideline. Let's set the stage. Many bodies are racing to keep up with AI, from standards organizations to academic ethics centers to international institutions. And because their guidance is young, you must check regularly that you are following the current version. Two frameworks stand out today, and they fall into two different types. A regulatory framework, like the European Union's AI Act, creates legally binding obligations, and breaking them brings penalties or operating restrictions. A voluntary framework, like the NIST framework, offers best practices with no legal force. Telling these two types apart is essential to aligning your strategy correctly. Let's look first at the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, a resource for anyone designing, building, deploying, or using AI. It is organized around four core functions. Govern means setting the risk policies, accountability, and culture. Map means identifying the system's characteristics, risk areas, and impact zones in context. Measure means developing metrics to monitor risk across the lifecycle. And manage means acting on risk in proportion to its impact. These four functions create a shared language for good outcomes, and they break down into more specific categories and granular subcategories, much like the structure of the NIST cybersecurity framework. Notably, NIST stays flexible and industry agnostic, offering tools to assess risk without forcing systems into rigid categories. Now the contrast. The European Union's AI Act, a regulation that takes a risk-based approach and reaches any entity developing, deploying, or using AI within the Union. It sorts AI into four categories: unacceptable risk, which is prohibited outright; high risk, which demands strict oversight; limited risk, which mainly requires transparency; and minimal risk, which is largely unregulated. Two features stand out. Organizations deploying high-risk systems must run conformity assessments and meet strict legal standards, while prohibited systems are simply off-limits. And the Act applies extraterritorially, so even organizations outside the Union must comply if their AI affects people inside it. So how do the two truly differ? On risk classification, the Act prescribes explicit, mandatory categories tied to law, while NIST recognizes a flexible spectrum with no fixed thresholds. On roles, the Act clearly separates providers, deployers, and distributors and assigns each tailored duties, while NIST uses the broad umbrella term of AI actors without dividing responsibilities. And on third-party diligence, the Act acknowledges its importance but gives limited direction, whereas NIST offers more detailed, granular guidance for managing third-party risk. Let's bring it all together. AI risk frameworks come in two types: binding regulation and voluntary best practice. The NIST framework is voluntary and flexible, organized around govern, map, measure, and manage. The European Union's AI Act is binding and prescriptive, sorting AI into unacceptable, high, limited, and minimal risk, and applying even beyond the Union's borders. They differ most in how they classify risk, assign roles, and guide third-party diligence. You now know the two frameworks that dominate AI risk. Every important topic and idea from this session is covered in the multiple choice questions on RooCloud.com. Before you move on to the next session, work through the chapter-wise questions there, because telling these two frameworks apart is a classic exam test. Practice first, and then move forward with confidence. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.